Alright guys, so this is the first video in the mind-body connection series. This will be a brief, watered down historical lesson for you guys. But before we get into the lesson, I want to again give my credentials just so you guys know that I'm just not making this stuff up and blowing smoke up your tail. So I'm a supervised mental health therapist. I have a master's degree in applied developmental psychology. That's one. I have a certification in natural remedies. I'm a second level Reiki master. I am an energy healer. Some people call it a light worker, meaning I use my spiritual gifts, my energy gifts to help heal people. My gifts are clairaudience, claircognizance, clairvoyance, and clairsentience. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? I've studied with master teachers all over the world, and I also have a certification in natural remedies. So let's move it forward. Enough about me. So the mind and body connection began around 200 BC in ancient Africa, and this was before, Kemet. This was before Kush. This was, I believe, in the first or second dynasty. The reason why we don't have an exact time frame is because back then they believed that information should be passed down from lip to ear. Nothing was written down. So trying to nail down an exact time is very difficult to do. So we say around 200 BC. The African teachings said that the mind and the body are interdependent and that they work through the pineal gland and the pituitary gland and other channels within the mind. From there, around 400 BC, the Buddha came onto the scene, and the Buddha said, hey, I'm in meditation and I'm finding myself. I'm on the path of enlightenment, and I have just discovered that my mind and my body are separate things. My mind is doing this while my body is doing this, right? So they have to be separate things. So as his teachings and the African teachings began to continue to move forward, scientists, spiritualists, enlightenmentists begin to break the mind down into 5 different categories. It's a wasp. 5 different categories, or what they call 5 different 5 aggregates. And I'm probably saying that word wrong. Aggregate, that's the word, aggregate. So the first being the material form, the perception form, the feeling form, the sensory consciousness form, and the volition form. So those 5 different aggregates are parts of the mind, right? And so from there, with those 5 aggregates, we then also have 5 causal factors that influence those aggregates. So what do I mean by that? I mean that the mind has the ability to rise and fall and have passing movement, spiral movement, and different things influence that movement in the present moment. So at any given time, we have 5 factors or 5 laws that will influence the mind: biological, physical, psychological, universal, and volitional. Volitional being voluntary, your own will. Those 5 causal laws have an impact on the 5 aggregates of the mind. Do we have that? This is so powerful because once you know what influences your mind, you then have the ability to be the master of self, to say, hey, I can control universal laws to a certain extent by applying certain principles. I can influence biological laws. I can influence psychological laws. You can influence all of the laws once you know them and you become master of self. Such a powerful thing. All right, and so then from BC, we go into AD. And in the AD era, one of the pioneers of the dualistic nature of the mind and the body is Rene Descartes. And he basically just said, hey, I'm also noticing that the brain is sending out signals and the mind is receiving it. which is basically what the Buddha was saying and what ancient Africans were saying as well. Now, the only difference is, and the debate still goes, is which is moving first. Is it the material world, then the mental world, and then the spirit world, or does it go in the other direction? Now, if we go back to the originators, that Kemet era, they believed that it is spirit, the soul, and then the body. How do I know this? So if you look at the book, The Kabbalion, which is Hermetic philosophies. Hermetic philosophies were taking from Thoth philosophies, right? It's just all passed down, translated into different forms. So that philosophy, Hermetic philosophy, expressed that the universe is mental and that all is mind, and the mind and the all encompasses everything, and we are just the afterthoughts, or we are just the materialization of the mental universe, of the mental world. Sometimes these concepts are a little difficult to explain in such short videos, but I'm doing my very best. If you want more, please just hit me up, send me an email, call, whatever you need. And I think I'm going to end it there on the history. So just to sum it up again, we have the ancient Africans that taught that the mind and the body are interdependent. Then we get into the Buddha, who taught that the mind and the body are interdependent. Then we went into the 5 aggregates of the mind. Then we went into the 5 causal factors of the mind. Then we moved it to present day with Rene Descartes, who said, hey, this is a dualistic thing we got going on. We have the brain, who's a sensory organ that's doing sensory things and is passing information into this immaterial world. Then we talked about, well, is that true? Is the brain actually sending that information to the mind, or is the mind sending information to the brain? Which one is happening? Which one is true? We don't know. All we do know is that ancient Africans taught that the universe is mental, and that all is mind, and that all began with mind, and that without the mind, nothing can materialize. So I hope you guys enjoyed that little brief lesson. Next, we will be getting into the mechanics, like how exactly does this thing work? Thoughts or things? That's how.